All right, man. We gotta stop this nonsense. Like, I get it, the court of public opinion. Well, I get it, the court of public opinion has Kendrick winning this situation, this beef or whatever. But the amount of stuff that I've seen come out at this point about Drake, about, I guess, his catalog and just about him in general is just nonsense. So I kept seeing this thing on Twitter with EBRO. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's a, I don't know if he still does Hot 97. I think he just does Apple Music now, but he used to have a show on Hot 97. He was a program director, and then he eventually switched over to become like a host on the show. Hold on. Yeah, he became a host on the show, and now he has his own show on Apple Music. And yeah, some of his takes, well, his takes have always been, you know, off the wall sometimes, but some of his takes recently, especially during this Drake situation, have been kind of wild. So I saw a tweet saying that he basically said Kendrick and his gripe with Drake is that Drake has no regional sound, has no identity. He just, I don't know, takes, or people have been saying that too, actually. He just takes whatever sound on the, you know, whatever artist he's working with, he just takes that sound and just adapts to it and makes it his own. So I just wanted to react to this video to see exactly what he was saying, because yeah, that's kind of wild. I'm not gonna lie to you.
We're just saying, like, to drop a regional specific sounding record.
Yeah, it's something Drake just can't do.
It's
something he can't do.
Already in the beginning, you can't say that. Let me just watch the video in full first.
Hold on, Eddie. That is Kendrick's indictment of Drake this whole time. Is that
you don't have an identity, you don't have a sound, you don't have a home base, you don't have a region where you can collect the sound, you can cultivate a sound, you can collaborate with a sound and present it to the world.
And furthermore, you're black and you're not even in touch with what black people are really sensitive about, you don't stand for, which is why you brought up the slave shit.
Right.
Or when I talked about the Pac shit, I was like, yo, why you playing with Pac, bro? You're not from that. Like I said that earlier, I was like, yo, that could be problematic for you, bro. Like, don't play with Pac like that. Now you playing with the slave shit?
That was a lot.
Oh, and oh, by the way, this went over a lot of people's head. You got your white mom opening up a record saying, hey, I think you shouldn't use the right after that. What, bro? You're not doing.
All right, so let's go back to the first part.
We're just saying, like, to drop a regional specific sounding record.
Yeah, it's something Drake just can't do.
And
it's something he can't do.
So this part kind of threw me off because it's like, I vividly remember like the early 2000s or whatever, around that time that Drake came out and he was doing his singing, rap and shit. People were basically just saying, oh, this is a new sound of hip hop. This is a new sound. Like, Drake's changing how, you know, the scope of hip hop. Just Drake's changing the scope of hip hop and how hip hop will be played in the future. And yeah, I vividly remember a bunch of articles basically saying that. And it's like, to hear them say he has no identity and he has no sound. That sound came, yeah, Drake had his influences, but everyone has no idea, first of all, is original. So Drake obviously had his influences or whatever, and he took those influences and made it into his own. Just like you could say Weeknd has influences from Michael Jackson or Prince or whatever the case is, and then he made that into his own sound. Drake has his influences, and then he made that into his own sound, with the help of 40, obviously. And that became a sound for a while. Like, a lot of people were doing that sound. Like, I'll even say an artist like Bryson Tiller, that's from, you know, he's from the, I guess you could say, the cloth or the family tree of Drake. Like, there's a lot of artists that transitioned from just that super rapidy rap to making like the more melodic rap because of him. So for people to say like he doesn't have an identity, like, that's his identity, and he still goes back to it on his albums. Like, if you listen to shit, if you're reading This Is Too Late, Madonna, Energy, Legend, all those songs, that's Drake's sound. If you go to For All the Dogs, Nothing Was the Same, a lot of those songs, that's Drake's sound. We could even go to the most recent album, For All the Dogs, like Virginia Beat, 7969, Slime You Out, Bahamas Promises, like, all that's Drake's sound. Just because he's able to hop on records with artists from a certain region and he's adapting to that sound doesn't mean he does have an identity. Like if I go on a song, if I do a Who Do You Love with YG and go on a West Coast beat, how the hell am I gonna go on a West Coast beat singing like I do on I don't know, Houston, Atlanta, Vegas or something like that? If I go to Memphis and do a song with Block Boy JB, why am I gonna sound, you know, like I'm singing again? So it's like for them to say he doesn't have an identity when a lot of the music that's out today in the past 5 to 10 years is because of him, or is from his sound, or is from his elk, whatever you want to call it, is because of Drake. Like that's something that confuses me.
But hold on, Eddie. That is Kendrick's indictment of Drake this whole time. Is that
you don't have an identity, you don't have a sound, you don't have a home base, you don't have a region where you can collect the sound, you can cultivate a sound, you can collaborate with a sound and present it to the world.
And furthermore, you're black and you're not even in touch with what black people are really sensitive about. You don't stand for, which is why you brought up the slave shit.
This is something that kind of annoyed me too. I've seen a lot of people have been saying it too during this beef about that line about the slave shit, but they forget to take in the line that he said after. He's basically saying that slave line and saying, you rap like this, but you're a fake activist. So it's my opinion, and everyone could think different, but I feel like it's my opinion that Kendrick's not stupid. He knows, you know, how to work a room, kind of like, even 50 Cent said it in the interview. He's like, he not confronted him, but he talked to him about that. He was just saying like, basically Kendrick gives you guys this, oh, he's this darling and this innocent child, but like you could read somebody if you're in front of him and see like, yo, you're putting on this image, but that's not really who you are. Like he knows what's gonna work for him. Like I'm not saying he's not, you know, he doesn't do stuff for the community or whatever, but I just think it's very, To Pimp a Butterfly was very, if I remember correctly, it was around the time that a lot of the police shootings and stuff were happening. So he released the album around that time, and yeah, that's something black people were dealing with, and then for you to release the music and align it with those issues, it's like, all right, you could see it as a bit opportunistic. Again, he could wholeheartedly feel how he does and want to put music out to help people through the trying times that the American black community was experiencing at that time. But I don't know, I think it's just very convenient for you to just say, oh yeah, Kendrick's this revolutionary, this leader for the black community, and it's like, you know, it's just the time that he released stuff. And I feel like if Drake had released stuff around that time, like relating to those topics, people probably wouldn't be, I don't know, feeling this way. But again, he had his lane, so he's gonna stay in his lane. He's not gonna go and hop in somebody else's lane just for the likes, because he's already popular. So another thing too, and I don't know, this may be controversial, but the Canadian black experience isn't the same as the American black experience. There are similarities and there's differences. I grew up in Florida, so I know both the black experience and I know the Canadian black experience, and I live in Toronto now, so I know both pretty much. I feel like there's a lot of similarities and there's a lot of differences, and for me, it's like when Drake finishes whatever he's doing in the US and he goes back home, those issues that people speak about, they don't really cross over to the other side of the border. Yeah, we have police brutality and we have things like that, but it's not as prevalent as it is in the US. And I feel like people, I don't know how to word it, but I feel like people take that and see that as, oh, he's purposely not, you know, wanting to talk about our situation or our gripe with the rest of America. It's like, he's in Canada if he's not in the US most of the time. Like he's been, especially recently, he's been in Canada more than he's been in the US, I think. So it's like, it's kind of hard for those issues to transfer over, because from my experience growing up, coming up here after I left Florida, like, yeah, I knew of the police brutality and all that stuff and the shootings, all the gang violence and all that stuff. But when I came here, I'm experiencing something else. So I don't really get to, like, I'm not in it anymore. So it's hard for me to be like, yeah, no, like I can speak for it myself, but it's harder for me to be like, yeah, no, you know, I can speak about these guys' experience while other people are, you know, experiencing it. Just because I experienced it in the past doesn't necessarily mean that I know what's going on at the moment. So it's kind of hard for him to be, especially where he's at too. It's like he's in the upper echelon of artists, you know, and he's said stuff before. That's the thing that confuses me. Like, he's never just been, obviously he's never released a full song on just like black issues or whatever, but he said stuff before pertaining to those issues. Like, it might be a couple bars in a song, but it's not like he's just said nothing. And he helps people. He helps the community. He helps his communities in the city. He helps people. You saw the God Plan video. He helps people in Memphis, like Texas, like everywhere. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like maybe people view Kendrick saying stuff about whatever's going on is more important than someone doing stuff behind the scenes. So I don't know, maybe that's what people are getting, maybe that's what people get when they say that.
Or when I talked about the Pac shit, I was like, yo, why you playing with Pac, bro?
I can't hear anything that EBRO has to say about Pac, I'll be honest with you, because he's from Oakland. And I believe when Tupac left Baltimore and moved to the West Coast, he moved to Oakland. So EBRO's opinion on Tupac is just, it's biased.
You're not from that. Like I said earlier, I was like, yo, that could be.
Yeah, you see, he said you're not from that. So he's from that. So he can be like, yeah, nah, he takes disrespect and then Drake putting out that verse with the Tupac AI shit.
Problematic for you, bro. Like, don't play with Pac like that. Now you playing with the slave shit?
That was a lot.
Oh, and by the way, this went over a lot.
Yeah, and that's like I said about the slave stuff in the beginning. It's like, y'all didn't take in the line after he said that slave line. He's like, Kendrick is a fake activist. And again, like I'm saying, I'm not saying Kendrick's a fake activist, but I'm just saying it's very, like, the coincidence is like, it's very convenient for him to have released that album around that same time when people were experiencing those issues, and he got so much fame and acclamation from just that album alone, because that's something that people were really experiencing at that time. I'd have to go back and look at the music that Drake was releasing around that time to see what he was saying, but you drop a full album basically talking about issues in the black community, black people are gonna love you. And I don't know, at the end of the day, honestly, Drake being who he is and being Canadian, it's gonna be hard for Americans to like him, pretty much. I don't know, those are my thoughts on it, but let me know what you guys think.